Today I'm going to be showing you how to fix this Samsung One Connect box for the QN77S95D FXDA model OLED TV. And the issue that the customer was experiencing was that the TV was completely dead, had no standby light whatsoever. Now what's funny is that this box was actually made in 2025, whereas the TV was manufactured in 2024. This was a replacement box that Samsung had provided them because the original had also failed. Something that's interesting is if we look at the power supply part number, BN44-01333A, this One Connect box has the newer revision of the power supply that was supposed to replace the original, which is this one over here, ending in 225A, which had chronic failures with certain transistors failing shorted and blowing the fuse. So let's go ahead and open up the One Connect box and see what's going on inside. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Nick. I started Nick's TV Repair over a decade ago, and since then have fixed hundreds of these One Connect boxes. Now, commonly on the original power supply, we do see this fuse failing open quite often. And that is the case here today. I am in continuity mode. When I have continuity, I get a beep, and this fuse is not giving me any continuity. Let's check this fuse over here. I do have a beep. I have continuity. We also sometimes see this thermistor fail. Again, this is on the other version of the board. It has not on this one. I just noticed two things. They're very small, so we're going to switch over to the microscope to take a closer look. There's a bit of a burn mark. I'm going back to my normal resistance mode. We're going to be measuring some of these 2004 labeled resistors, and we are getting 1.9 mega ohm. Let me read this one. Same thing, 1.9, 2 mega ohms. Let's look at this one. And this one is reading 17 mega ohms. Let's read this first one over here. 1.9 mega ohms. So 2004 is supposed to be a 2 mega ohm resistor. So that shows us that the 3 on the left side are good. The 4th to the right is actually failed open and will need to be replaced. So that's our first issue. And the other one I noticed, which is much more obvious and severe, is right here. I'm going to give the chip a quick clean. And my goal is to just make the markings a little bit more visible so that we might be able to identify the part number of the chip. If anybody watching this video knows the exact part number of this IC, that would be extremely helpful if you could also let me know in the comments if we're not able to determine what it is. And just to confirm, it looks like the ID location is ICP891S, I believe. I'll just remove a little bit of that silicone to be sure. Okay, ICP801S. Now for the part number, we have TI47A. This could be a B or a P. That could be an E or an F. I'm not sure. Maybe this could be a 4M. And then we have UCC. I think that was going to be a 2 or probably a 2, but then obviously we can't see the rest. Let me do a little bit of Googling. So after doing a little bit of Googling around using all the variations of the potential letters and numbers that it could have been, I was not able to find any sort of information on a chip that would be able or compatible with this power supply. So at this point, we're going to call this power supply a no-fix. If anybody watching this video knows what the part number is, we would be super appreciative if you could let us know in the comments down below. But for now, in order to fix the One Connect box for our customer, what we're going to do is we're going to use this power supply. This is one of the original boards. So it's the BN44-01333A revision. It is defective. We did purchase it from eBay as a core, defective, non-working. So we're going to be going ahead and both repairing and upgrading this power supply instead. So when I say upgrading, is we do have transistors that are higher end than the originals that we install, so that when we are done with this repair, it should last longer than what the original would have. Now the transistors in question, let's go ahead and take a closer look at them so that if you have this revision of the power supply, you'll know how to fix it. All right, so we're gonna go into our continuity mode again, and let's flip the board to the front. Same thing, we're going to check that fuse first. Do we have continuity? Nope, no continuity, so this fuse is blown. And we're going to pay special attention to these two transistors right here. So we'll flip the board over. We'll put one lead on the center pin and our other on the outer pins. So this first one is not shorted, no continuity, but this one is. And we're getting almost a dead short, 3 ohms going down. Yeah, that's pretty much a dead short. And on the other leg as well. Now, only one of the 2 transistors has failed, but with this revision, we have seen either one or the other fail. So what that means is if we only replace the one component that has failed and not the other, then the other will probably fail down the line in the near future, and this board will be back with additional faults. So we're gonna go ahead and preemptively replace both. For reference, this is QP802CS, and this one's going to be QP801CS. So the 802CS is the one that we just found was shorted. We're gonna remove a little bit of this silicone. If you have a defective won't connect box that you would like to send in for us to fix, we do offer flat rate services, which come with a 1-year warranty. Those are available on our website, which I will link in the video description down below. And this transformer is very close to the screws, so it is very difficult to unscrew these. And that's why I end up using my fingers near the end. All right, let's flip the board over and take a closer look at the joints on the back side, which are also covered in silicone, just slightly different kind of silicone. Now it's not 100%, but it is close enough. We got majority of the silicone out. We can go ahead and start adding some solder, and we have good flow. I can move the leg of the component. We'll use our desolder pump to actually remove the solder. And I'm adding a lot of solder first to get really good flow. My solder also does contain some flux, which helps with better flow. Still have a little bit of solder in there. Same thing, I'm pushing the pin, I'm getting no movement. Okay, there we go. There we go. Now it's really loose. That's how we know we have good flow throughout the joint. All right, let's go ahead and introduce our desolder wick to the mix. And I think some of that material that we're seeing still inside the joint is actually our silicone, the white silicone from the top side of the board. Quick little test. There we go. Oh yeah, look at that. Very loose. All right, let's move on to the other. So I'm pushing until I have really good movement, and once I do, that's when I know I can introduce my desolder wick. So essentially what I'm doing is I'm just preheating the joint, preheating the leg, because once I introduce the desolder wick is just a big hunk of copper, which actually acts also as a heatsink, and it sucks up a lot of the heat, and so it prevents proper flow. It's great for desoldering, but it also acts as a heatsink, so it's a double-edged sword. Oh yeah, still a lot of silicone there. Okay, there we go, that's better. Not all 3 of these joints are the same. Some of these are harder to desolder than others, and that's going to depend on what kind of trace it's connected to. So this trace is going to be naturally easier to flow. Look at that, that was almost instant. And that's simply because that trace is much smaller. It's not as big of a pad, and so it's not going to soak up as much of the heat. All right, let's desolder this one again. There we go, that's loose. Yep, now all 3 of the legs are moving. I should be able to wiggle these guys out now. There's still a little resistance from the silicone on the top side. All right, next we're gonna remove the old thermal pads off the back. And we'll use a Q-tip and isopropyl alcohol to clean off the heatsink. Now actually, before we do our replacements, we still get a beep when we have continuity. We're gonna recheck the board. No beep, but that's what we had originally. The QP802CS was the one that was beeping and had a short. No longer have a short, no longer have a short. If we check our original transistor here, no short, no short. So that must have been our QP801CS. And this one has a short and has a short. So this one was our QP802CS. Now here are the replacements, and as you noticed on the originals, they had the center pin bent forward, so we'll do that to our replacements. There we go. And we removed the thermal pads, so we're gonna add new ones. All right, we'll feed our screws back in. So now we can go ahead and line up our transistor. And we'll begin with the hand tightening. We'll start soldering the back, but we're gonna do a quick little clean first. And I am hanging out on the joint for quite some time. I just wanna make sure I have good heat penetration into the joints, the leg of the component. If you recall, this bottom left did not require nearly as much heat, and that's because that's a much smaller trace. And I believe this bottom right gave us quite a bit of a hard time. And so this one we're gonna hang out on for a little longer. And you can see visually, the trace around it here is a lot thicker, it's a lot larger. And so it is soaking up a lot more heat. I think we did a good job. Let's move on to this one here. All right, now we'll cut off the leads. One more cleanup. And next we can move over to the fuse. All right, it looks like we got most of it there. Okay, this one melted quite a bit faster. Same deal, can I move it a little bit? Can I move this one? I think I can. It's giving me a lot of resistance, but I think it's because of this silicone. So let's see, can I actually move? Yep, I can remove it, and there we go. And you know what, I just noticed there's a little bit of a blister on the fuse, which most likely is where it actually blew up. So we're gonna be using a 12 amp, 250 volt replacement. Obviously it has to be rated identical to the original. We are back in our continuity mode, so when we get a beep, we have continuity. Let's check our fuse, and of course the fuse is good. Do we still have continuity over here? Nope. And no, which actually we didn't on this one. QP802CS was the one. And with our new transistor, we no longer have continuity. So that does confirm we did get rid of the shorts. Now to be sure, let's actually plug it in and do a live voltage check. Now with this power supply, the moment I power it on, as long as it's disconnected from the main board, it will fully turn on and all of the output voltages that it's supposed to be outputting will be present, or should be at least. Just heard it click. And we're currently still in the continuity mode, so let's switch over to DC. And we have a 17 volt spot here to check. We have 17 volts, that's correct. And then over here we have our VDRV. And we're getting 67.5 volts, which is what we expect. Those are really the only two readings that we want to check and confirm. As long as those two are present, that does tell me this power supply is fully functional and we can provide it as a replacement for our customer's One Connect box. Now, when it comes to the BN44-01333A power supplies, if anybody can give me that information on the IC chip, or if we figure out what the IC chip part number is, we will go ahead and do a follow-up video with the repair of this power supply. But until then, we'll consider this a completed video and a successful repair since we were able to get a replacement going for our customer. If you found the video helpful or useful, make sure to leave us a like, subscribe for more content, and thanks for watching.